Hello and welcome, F1 race fans. We are here, Elite Aspect F1 25. First round, here one in Australia. As we are about to do a 100% race around Albert Park here in Melbourne for Elite Aspect F1 25. Drivers still joining the lobby. Waiting on a few more to get in to make sure we're all set in stone. We're going straight into the race. So let's go ahead and take a look at the track map. As you see, the start finish straight into turn 1 with the DRS, into turn 3 with the DRS zone, another DRS zone down between 8 and 9 as this track has been revamped, and then again 10 to 11, another good overtaking zone to finish out the lap before another one in turn 1. We did have qualifying yesterday. As we take a look at some of the highlights here, as drivers were out just kind of getting prepared for the track, as we see a little track just rubbering in, drivers not quite out there. Sometimes it do end up on the board, and as we do see ONB Alberto here, I believe will set the fastest time of Q1 with a 1:15.845. Not to be outdone. Still Q1 though, as we see the Kick Sauber and Harrison makes his way over the line, and that'll put him top spot provisionally out of Q1 with a 1:15.712. MDJ in the Aston Martin down in 16th, little wobble out of turn 14 again, but crosses the line and is able to get up to 12 and out of Q1. As you see the drivers here, it was Bluz, King Kong, Hitwall, Math, and Frozen, who are all eliminated out of Q1. Drivers separated by less than a second, 1 through 7, and then of course those two top drivers there are very close. So very tough grade. As we look at the driver lineups that we do have here for Elite Aspect F1 25, some of those names you will not see today. Some of those names you definitely will. However, you know, real life does happen, and sometimes we can't all get here in time to play a video game. As we get ready to start Q2, of course, here's the season calendar starting here in Australia at Melbourne, Albert Park. Then we'll make our way to Shanghai, China next week and take on that circuit with a sprint weekend in mind. So interesting to see how FP1 and then a sprint session will happen as we make our way into Q2. Of course, we've got Marcos Olmedo, TRT in the V-Carb, making his way to finish a lap, as Alberto did set a 1:15.424, I believe that says up there, and able to do a 1:16.131. As we'll come back down to JL Harrison, who I do not believe will be racing today, but nevertheless impressed us in qualifying. And came into line with a 1:15.35. As you see, who was eliminated there, MDJ. AB Edward did come across the line and break the hearts of MDJ, iLinks Beast, for any chance to get into. But now we move into Q3. Sorry for no sound and it being pretty much just me talking over that. I did take the audio out because this is me doing my qualifying streams. As we may still be waiting on a couple other drivers, but in Q3, Marcos Olmedo up to 3rd and then knocked down to 4th. We'll come across the line again and set the first of the last times that are out there on the board here in Q3. And everybody else you see is doing the out lap at this point. And then we make our way with the Young Lights out of turn 14. much energy. Another little wobble there, as we see taking a little curve on the inside might not be the best. But is able to cross the line. No improvement there, but very, very close to it. And is fifth as the next person to cross the line without an invalidated lap was A.B. Edward, who stays in fourth. I believe Frigate here does do a 115 something, but unfortunately was invalidated. It looked like Mark was about to cross the line there, but we have the Ferrari of Legion, who does finish out a great exit out of turn 14, puts the hammer to the floor, and moves up to fifth with that 115.9. And we're still waiting to get started here. Seeing if a few more drivers are joining. So we can go ahead and look at the qualifying results that we had out there. And it was Harrison Holmes in Q3 that put the time fastest, and I don't think he'll be participating today. So, and a couple other drivers in here will not, and you'll see the grid change just a little bit. But the reserves still get points, and it's nice for everybody to get involved here. So if you can, please do, as we are about to start, it does look like. So this is my provisional starting grid. That's going to change just a little bit, but we do have the two V carbs out there. 1-2 at the moment. So we'll see if anything else changes going into the race. I do know that Pitwall will not be joining us, so those drivers may move up. The other drivers, I didn't see Banana Josh in the lobby. We may have been missing one other person, maybe Math, as far as I know. So, but we're about to get underway here. As these drivers will have a certain amount of time to get their setups loaded, get their strategies figured, and we will begin this race straight away. We did qualifying yesterday. If you'd like to see that, go hit up the YouTube. And watch that, as we just semi-highlighted it before we began here. Again, Elite Aspect F125 coming at you for the first time this season of a live race, 100%, no assists. As we have, I think, 15 or 16 drivers in the lobby. Right now, they are putting on their setups that they would like to take around Albert Park here in Australia for round one of this 2025 new game that we are beginning our journey on here in Elite Aspect. As again, there is the track map. As that start finish straight is that yellow to red, so the first sector ends right before turn 6, 7, obviously difficult, but the 2 DRS zones. So going down in turn 1 and 2, overtaking possibilities there, and into turn 3, where that is a heavy braking zone. So you may see side-to-side battles, inside, outside through turn 4. 5 is a fast right-hander, and you make your way down to turn 6, DRS detection zone. That'll take you through turn 8. And then you make your way through this long new DRS zone added before turn 9 and 10, which we have seen overtaken there in the past. But then you make another one, and they've tightened up turn 11, so more heavy braking zone to finish out the lap there. Again, it looks like we are about to get started. Should have a formation lap as these drivers get underway. Beautiful scenes here at Albert Park for Elite Aspect F125 in Australia. Cars look amazing. Drivers out there. We'll run down the lineup one more time, but it is very, very similar to what I showed you just a little bit earlier. So That's a provisional starting grid, so some of these drivers might jostle around, but as you see, they are all in there in the right spots. So it should be interesting as we make our way through the formation lap. Again, Australia this week, first of the, and then we'll move to Shanghai, China next week and do a sprint weekend. As I'm just checking everything to make sure everything is good before we begin. We can go ahead and check some tire details. The two leaders in the V-Carbs, Alberto and Marcos, are starting on the medium tires. Behind Abe Edwards will be on the hards. Beside him on the second row is Legion in the Ferrari on the hards. Young Lights, first of the third row, and fifth will be on the hards as well. Animator, YouTube, Joan, of course, in the Ferrari, starting sixth on the mediums. Folkmasters, Haas on the mediums. Frigate 3360, watch out for him, who set a good time, but it was invalidated in qualifying, on the mediums as well. iLinks Peace on mediums. Poison Harbor 10th, rounding out the top 10 in the points already on the mediums. X-Joe and the Williams will be on the mediums as well. Bluz, gambling on the hards, maybe. King Kong on the mediums. Blundy and MTU, both of them on the hards as well. So maybe not a gamble from Bluz at all. Can go long and see where it'll take us. As the drivers are making their way up to the grid line. There we go. Now we've got a starting grid angle here. Everybody ready to go. 5 red lights. Away we go. Looks like a pretty good start from the front too. As they make their way down into turn one, side by side, one on the outside, one on the inside. Which one's it going to be? Looks like Marcos has made it out unscathed in the first as we cycle our way back. No incidents to report, as it is V-Carb and Ferrari line of stern. Bad start for Young Lights in the Alpine, who drops down to 8th. Frigate and ABE Edward battling a little bit of end plate there, I think, of a front wing as Folkmasters move up. ABE Edwards drops back just a touch. The two Haas's are battling there in the midfield. Young Lights trying to make a position back. We're right on board. This is going to be interesting down into turn 9. Had to back out on that inside line. There's predicted pit stop strategies there. So medium, hards, 2 stops looks like the way. I thought I heard 1 stops, possibly. As Young Lights are able to be late on the brakes into turn 11. A little bit wide there on the gravel. That's unfortunate. And as we see what's happening behind, up at the front, everybody looks about 3 to 4 or 5 tenths away from each other. As we still see some jostling in the background there. It is Marcos Olmedo who leads the first lap of the 125.945. Of course, these cars are heavily fueled, very, very heavy at the moment. DRS is now enabled. As we drop back through the field here, a little bit of a tussle there with Poison Harbor and King Kong, it looked like. Cars look intact. Make our way back up to the front. Bundy get past MTD in there somewhere. Still the 2 Ferraris and 2 V-Carbs line astern. The 2 Ferraris have dropped back just a touch. Maybe Animator needs to get by Legion here. He might have the more pace at the moment. Young Lights and iLinks back and forth with the DRS now enabled, as we see Bluz might also be using that, as the 2 drivers, iLinks and Young Lights, make their way through 9 and 10. No action there. Young Lights down to 9th from the start. 5th place, I do believe. So as Frigate and Legion off the side there, just maybe a little deep, as Frigate makes his way up to 4th in the McLaren. Maybe he can get after Joe Animator here, because Legion was all over the back of Animator as well. Looking back down the grid order, Bluz and Bundy seem to be battling pretty tight. We'll keep an eye on them as we make our way into turn 1. DRS should be enabled, should be enacted. It was 4/10 at the start-finish straight. Is that enough? Enough to close the gap. Make them defend a little funny. I think Poison Harbor wouldn't mind them two battling in front as well. As we'll keep an eye on Young Lights and ABE Edward as well, with iLinks right behind them, who lost a few places, I believe, at the start. Keeping on board with Folkmasters here for just a second. Of course, it's a DRS train here at the moment, but both of these guys should be closing that gap up as they make their way into 9-10. Any incidences through here, and you could lose a couple places. DRS again. The only reason I'm highlighting this is AB Edward did have a DRS, but was more than a second back from Extro. Is all the way up into 7th from the start, so give them a little screen time. As I do believe we might be looking at Folkmasters with possible overtake here on Legion. Again, we'll take a look at these tires. Position changes, yeah, up 3 and 4 for both Goad and Frigate. With Folkmasters Extra up 4, of course, AB Edward, Young Lights down 5. No one's made a stop yet, but it's all in the mediums, and that was what we were thinking, is Folkmasters maybe can make these mediums last a little bit longer, or I mean not last longer, but using his advantage as far as a little bit more grip here in the first session, first of the race. As we'll make our way back to Extra, who I thought was gaining on Edward here with the DRS. Young Lights behind him is also looking into this as the Williams around the Haas into turn 9. The Haas trying to defend. Who will get DRS this time? With the Red Bull of iLinks behind, Young Lights makes his way around Edward there. And iLinks might be thinking of a move into turn 1. As it's these 5 drivers, 6 to 10 pretty much. DRS for the Red Bull, DRS also for the Haas. As the leaders have spread out a little bit, we're keeping an eye on Marcos and Alberto as well, as they are just line astern right now on the V carbs, 1.5 seconds ahead of Animator. And Frigate was unable to close the gap, so Legion might have found something in these hard tires now, as we do have AB Edward dropping back quite a bit there. Might have been in one of those collisions to start. Does have a little bit of, gets past King Kong, but does have some damage on that front wing, as you see. Yes, definitely damage on that front wing. Are we close for a change in the lead? We definitely need to keep an eye on Frigate back there on 3360. Oh, how far will we see that gap? Looks like we're just saving energy here. Trying to just sit line astern. As Animator looks like it's closed that gap just a touch now, dropping back as Legion into Frigate, almost into turn 1. Folkmasters right there, Extra right there as well. Young Lights is caught up to them. Oh, the Haas and the Ferrari touch a little bit. That allows Extra to make it through the inside and get past Folkmasters. Marcos Olmo was able to get past Alberto there. Safety car has been deployed, it says. Looks like AB Edward has lost the full front wing there. Get a great shot of the underfloor. Wonder if that Sauber is damaged as well. Doesn't look like it. But the Mercedes of MTD looks intact. The driver's pitting, it looks like here. 6 laps in. Double stacked the V-carbs there. Hard tires, it looks like. Keep an eye on that as we go. As you see the position change, extra up 8 now, but didn't pit. Frigate didn't either, neither did Legion. As you see who has made the stops. That has now split the 2 V-carbs. As you see the tires that everybody's on now, that's going to be interesting to keep track of as we're moving forward. So under safety car, of course, Frigate 3360 leads the race on 7-lap-old mediums. Legion behind, I think, has hards on. So the early pit stop and the double stack from V-Carb is interesting. As we move forward here, Elite Aspect F125. New video game just came out a few weeks ago, I do believe. We've done our preseason testing and then began here the first round weekend, full weekend of Australia for round 1. 3 practice sessions, 1 full qualifying session, and here we are, 7 laps into the Australian Grand Prix here for Elite Aspect F125, and a safety car incident happened somewhere. All the drivers are still on track. Nobody has retired, but I did see that A.B. Edward had quite a bit of damage to the front of his car, so it could have just been for debris on the track, and they needed to get rid of it. But it does shake everything up for this race, as some of the strategy involved now is strange, as the V-carbs especially both came and put on a set of hards, I believe. No, a set of mediums and a set of hard. So Marcos will definitely have to make another stop. They started on mediums. Alberto, I don't know if you can take the hards 50 laps. But as you see, there are some time penalties already out there. That's going to happen definitely in this game, especially around Albert Park, just due to the way the curbs are, the fast, free-flowing. Sometimes you step a little bit out and you probably were okay, but the game will still penalize you sometimes. So that is unfortunate. And I don't see any signs of a safety car coming in as we finish up the second sector. It should tell us then. As we're just kind of waiting for the drivers to come through. A.B. Edward still back there a little bit. I didn't see. There we go. Race control. Safety car in this lap. As it will be. Everybody, when will Frigate go? Looks like he's taking off now. Very, very close there between Young Lights and X-Joe, trying to break the slipstream ahead. Doesn't look like anything's happening there on the restart, except for Marcos Omo got past iLink's piece rather quickly. Bundy and Folkmasters have traded positions into turn 1 as well. Poison Harbor so close. iLinks and Animator. Something happened with iLinks, it looks like, maybe. Very, very close there on the restart. Frigate got away just fine. Marcos Omo around Young Lights already. On the new fresh medium tires. As everybody is so tight after this safety car restart. Looks like King Kong went a little wide there, and that allowed MTDU to get through. But Abe Edward, with a new fresh wing, probably some new tires as well, might be making his way back up. He's dropping down through the drivers. Who's closest? Berto might be making his way past Animator here. No, they are side by side into turns 11. Inside line for Alberto through turn 12 here. DRS should be enabled again. Now racing again, Marcos and Legion. Remember, Marcos has already made that stop. Oh, a move from Folkmasters there on Bluzz. Attempted, it looked like. Very, very tight down in there to turn 3. Young Lights trying to make it past Extro here. This Legion does let almost around. Marcos Olmedo, sorry. Looks like we have a virtual safety car. That was Poison Harbor. I'm not going to be able to catch that, unfortunately. So virtual safety cars are tough. Looks like we're racing underway again. And it might be Young Lights with the DRS into turn 1. And those hard tires might come back to themselves, but Alberto behind X-Show as well. Around the outside into turn 1. Into turn 3, around turn 4, all over the back of Young Lights now. With a pit stop. TOT Marcos, oh, Extro has had an issue. Looks like Animator and Extro got into a pretty big collision there. Let's check. Yeah, the front wing of Animator is definitely taking an impact. So another virtual safety car deployed. Frigate 3360 still leading the race. Has not stopped as we see who has and what tires they're on. And we're just waiting for the safety car to undeploy. I don't know why there should be coming into the pits. That's okay. That should be all right. iLinks and Animator into the pits. As we are back to racing again. Looks like TRT Marcos Olmedo has made the best of his pit stop, but the double stack from V-Card has caught OMB Alberto out just a little bit and had to make his way through a little bit more traffic, with a little bit harder traffic, I would say, to get around so fast. And so we had a safety car restart, a virtual safety car restart here. Alberto squeezing Young Lights there a little bit, but does make it past. Again, much fresher, hard tires. AB Edward, after that pit stop in his strange first few laps of this race, has made his way back up to 7th, behind his teammate Folkmaster. Thought I saw, okay. So it looks like they were all line astern with their DRS. We'll stick with the top 4 here, as they are all within 1 second of each other. We do have some more pit stops happening behind us. As it is Marcos Olmedo who has gotten past Frigate. I don't know where I missed that, but he's in first place and has a pit stop in hand. As we see Young Lights and OMB Alberto battling it out there. Gets by with the DRS, no problems. OMB Alberto up to 3rd now. Will probably be hunting down Frigate on the fresher rubber. Frigate will not have DRS. And that lockup there is not helpful. Watch this one happen. DRS open. Not much he can do. Makes his way by into turn 1. Is Legion fancying a chance here in just a moment, possibly. As Young Lights has dropped 2 seconds behind these top 4. We'll see what happens with Alberto and Marcos here, as that gap is at 1.7. We'll see if that closes. Can Frigate fight back or open the door for Legion here to move up to a podium spot with 14 of 58 laps here? I do believe so. That wasn't a great exit. Trying to hold off the inside line. Not much going to be able to do here, Frigate, with the DRS open on that Ferrari. Again, strategy will play plenty to be involved here as this race wears on. And if we do look at the weather report, there is a possibility of some rain later. Maybe. Long was pretty close to Bundy there, I thought. With DRS, we'll be able to close that gap. Frigate is pushing on the Legion again. Keep an eye on that as well, but as we have a retiree from this session, that was AB Edward. We should be passing in just a moment into the pits, it looks like. Okay. Unable to get it done at that moment. Frigate's still pushing Legion pretty hard here. McLaren versus Ferrari for a podium spot. Alberto is closing that gap up to Marcos Olmedo by about 7/10 over the last 2 laps, I'd say. A lock up there from Frigate is not going to set him up nice for the overtake on Legion here, as Alberto has closed that gap to less than a second. It wasn't in with the DRS detection zone. Benefit of the slipstream regardless. Does have DRS now. We'll have to pay attention to those. Frigate's still close to Legion, so this is a battle for the podium that we'll continue to watch. Well, we do have to look back here and say that Legion, Frigate, Young Lights have not made stops yet. And we'll have to, depending on what tire they're on. You would think Frigate's 15 lap old mediums, he's going to need to stop sometime soon. The Hards of Young Lights and Legion may go on for a few more laps. Frigate's still close to the back of Legion. Check in on Alberto and Marcos in the 2V carbs. Wasn't burning too much battery. Of course, when we got two teammates, 1 and 2 at the moment, you know, it's hard for them to really battle and put everything at risk. Finishing a 1-2 is amazing. Was very close here. And it looks like Berta will get past Olmedo here. As I threw 9 and 10. DRS open in front of them, so that's not great. Will they continue fighting down into turn 1? As the two V-carbs are just trading back and forth. Interesting that they're on different tires. We've had another retirement of MTU in the Mercedes. In the pit lanes, I do believe, so. Or no. Right there in turn 3-4. Hopefully that'll be cleared away before these two drivers make it there. Looks like it has been. Frigate's still pushing hard on the back of Legion. Most of the drivers are about a second of each other. Besides these top 4. And these drivers that are on the hards and on the mediums that haven't pit yet, I think are going to try to take them as long as they can. As we got Joe Animator here in 10. Did have some damage and had some issues earlier. Laid on the brakes, able to get it turned in and around King Kong. There's King Kong gonna be able to fight back a little bit here. On the nice medium tires, I think Animator had some damage, so came in and changed that wing. Probably has fresh, nice tires. It's gonna be hard for King Kong to really fight that too much. But in the points, King Kong, very nice from there from the Sauber. With the DRS, Marco's not quite able to do it. Hard tire might be superior around here. As 19 of 58 laps are gone for Elite Aspect F125 round 1 here in Australia, Melbourne, Albert Park. So very, very fast track, left, rights, all over the place. As the drivers are pretty much kind of settling in. Leaders up front, of course, Alberto and Olmedo have been trading back and forth. Young Lights is closed in a little bit on Legion and Frigate here. I wish I could turn that off. on the older hard tires, Frigate on 20 lap old mediums now. It's gotta be a spot where those tires will start to fade away. Not quite able, but getting close. As we need to keep an eye on the leaders as well. Buzz comes into the pits. Oak Masters is closing in as these two start to battle. OMB Alberto was so close there. I believe Marcos Olmedo has now overtaken Alberto. So again, the V-Carbs trading back and forth. And then I missed Young Lights getting past Frigate. But that did bring Folk Masters into play with these 4, 5, and 6. As Alberto and Marcos are still battling up at the front. I may have to just watch these two guys because I can't miss their passes anymore. As much better run around A. Gonna open the DRS here. Has got the slipstream already. Just look at that overspeed to the inside of into 9. Not much TRT Marcos can do. Sure, we'll see that again. As it's still Frigate, Young Lights, and Folk Masters. Frigate might have thought about a move there into 9 and 10. That Haas of Folk Masters is definitely troubling on the hard compound tires. Has pit already. So has pit stop over Young Lights, Legion, and Frigate. Frigate was pulling away a little bit there. Might have better wings. Our way back up to the leaders. As it is the two V-Carbs that have dominated this race thus far. Anything can happen though. Not even halfway through here. For Elite Aspect F125, round 1 here in Australia. Not close enough on that one. To make it through past turn 9, but still close. This Frigate again, still not. Folk Masters closing that gap. That's a battle we're going to have to keep on. Do the tires come in and out? I think he's a little too far away there. We may see something from Young Lights, Frigate, and Folk Masters, especially here into turn 1. No, that gap's just closing, but unable to get a move done. It looks like Marcos Olmedo has dropped back behind Alberto now from outside of 1 second. I think Frigate is definitely thinking about a pit stop at some point. With 35 laps to go here, you're taking your mediums, 23 laps already. Can Alberto and Marcos keep those hard tires, do they have to pit again? One of them has to pit again. As there we see Frigate getting by Young Lights. So does Folkmasters. Young Lights down to 6th here, as that DRS is just so powerful. Is Folkmasters going to be able to make a run? No, it doesn't look like it, with both of them having DRS. So now Young Lights is going to have to sit back and watch these two battle to try to make an opportune moment, just as Folkmasters just did. As we won't go quickly back to the front of the pack here, as that gap is separated by 2 seconds now. Folkmasters have enough. Young Lights not quite either at the moment. We should be thinking about other pit stops here from some of these drivers. As the Haas does get past Frigate down into turn 3. Folkmasters has pit already. It'll be interesting to watch that gap to Legion, as Young Lights has dropped back for some reason. Might have had a little issue or something, we don't know. Continuing to drop back. Car looks ghosted to me, so not sure if something happened. Absolutely. Let's see. Sorry we had to do that. As Bundy has left the session. Might have done it in the pits, so King Kong will move up to 10th. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. And we'll see if there's also a and it's back to the racing. Frigate still just 1.5 seconds. We're a little bit closer. Hopefully we can get Young Lights back in his car, as he was dropping back kind of far there. So obviously he had a glitch of something. Okay, I'm not seeing it. Okay, there we go. Hopefully we're good and he can get back in his car. Okay, we'll see Animator make his way past there, of course. Top two have kind of spread out a little bit. I don't see Legion really closing that gap at the moment. Really hoping Young Lights can get back in his car. Nothing else going on. caution in sector 2. Looks like a Sauber of King Kong is turned around. It's back on track. Got lap cars behind him, so should have blue flag. Lost the front wing there. Able to get going again, so okay there. Not sure if that car's still ghosted or not. Animator putting in decent laps, very consistent on those medium. Spokemaster's up 3 places and already has a pit stop in hand. Animator with 2 stops already, still running in 6th place. We should be seeing some pit stops here shortly from some of these drivers. We're just approaching halfway through the Elite Aspect F1 opening race here. Round 1 in Australia, Melbourne Albert Park. Young Lights does come into the pits and finally changes those hard tires. Young Lights is behind Bluz. We'll keep an eye on that gap, on those fresh tires. What happened to an issue with I-Links there? Young Lights now on mediums. I don't know if he can take those 30 laps. That's going to be difficult, as King Kong has now left the session. Not quite on the DRS, but we'll see if Young Lights is gaining ground here. Looks like it. So back in his car, I do believe. Have to keep an eye on that, as he can make his way back up through the field with now a pit stop in hand. Some drivers still have not pit. And it's just... Legion has not pit. I do believe Young Lights, with that benefit of those tires, is going to be able to move up to 8 really quick here in the Alpine on those fresh mediums. I believe we'll be getting after our links here in just a second. Whoa, down the inside. So much more traction. That will bring Bluz into effect here, as Marcos Olmedo has pit as well from 2nd place. Had to pit again because I think went mediums. Now that DRS open, Bluz is going to make his way down the inside here into turn 9. Out of turn 10. I-Links with a much better exit out of turn 10. Isn't going to think about it in 11. As we now have Marcos Olmedo on hard tires. We'll take those to the end of the race. The Legion still running up there, almost 29 lap old hard. They've got to be dying by now. I think Alberto would hit again, but that would bring Marcos Olmedo out in front. That'll be interesting to watch. As now it's down to strategy and more safety cars, probably. If we have one, what will that do? To the grid order and what's going on. But everybody's pretty spread out right now. I think Olmedo will be closing that gap on the Folkmasters. It's 31 of 58 laps are done here. Elite Aspect F125. First round here in Australia. Very interesting start to the race. It is Australia, so you expect incidents just because these curves are shaky, they can throw you, grip is not always where it needs to be, and it is very easy to lose a rear end around here. Berto into the pits again. And we're going to want to see where Tomato around Folkmasters in front of Alberto as well on hard tires. So maybe 1 or 2 laps fresher. Legion now leads the race. Most Folkmaster's gonna run a 1 stop or 2 stop. 25 lap old hards, that's gonna be difficult to take to the end of the race. So Alberto, Marcos, probably Frigate, maybe Young Lights, and Lynx are going to the end of the race on their tire. Bluz, that one's gonna be tough. Legion has not pitted. TRT Marcos is gaining ground rather quickly. Much fresher rubber, of course. And we'll have to keep an eye on Alberto behind Folkmasters as well, because I imagine that time will be coming down pretty quickly as well. DRS opens, that is just nothing you can really do at that point. Except hope they make a mistake and you can start fighting back at them. Alberto not quite able to get past Folkmasters there. Again, Legion still needs to pit. I would imagine would come in sometime soon here. May come out of front of his teammate, Animator. Maybe. As the Haas Folkmasters comes into the pits. That'll free Alberto with his teammate in front, putting in a fastest lap. Almost 4/10 slower that lap from Alberto. Legion's still out there, pushing on those hard tires. Stick with Alberto here, as I imagine setting the fastest first sector there. Imagine we'll be putting the pressure on here. Just so the tires, the difference is just going to be enormous. Maybe a little too far back here. Make it happen on this lap. But again, you see the difference in change in direction through 9 and 10 there. And it's so difficult. Legion defends on the inside, still nothing he can do. Just doesn't have enough rubber to grip the track to get the car stopped the way Alberto is able to. So 3.5 seconds Alberto to Marcos Olmedo. We will see how that gap closes over the next 24 laps here to finish out Australia round 1. But that also allow Animator to get close to no. Alberto just set the fastest lap. See how that plays out. Young Lights is closing that gap a little bit, but that's a long way to take those medium tires. But that gap is steadily closing to Animator there. Legion will definitely be dropping back, still taking those hard tires as far as it can. It looks like. We start seeing that gap to Frigate really, really slow come down. He's gonna have to pit. Which it looks like it is. Pretty much everybody has kind of spread out again here. Imagine that would be Buzz's final pit stop of the day. He is coming out ahead of the two V-carbs. Is Alberto closing that gap? 2.7 seconds as of right now. And his tires that I believe are 1 or 2, maybe 2 or 3 laps pressure. 2 laps pressure. Legion 35 laps on those hards. Frigate gonna go to the end on those hards. I think Folkmasters could probably close that gap, take those mediums to the end as well. So lots to look forward to here. See his teammate in front, 2.5 seconds. That's a little bit of a pressure tire. 22 laps to go. And as we do see some of these gaps closing, finally Legion comes into the pits. Like to see where he comes out. Will it be in front of his teammate? Looks like it. On mediums, can take them the rest of the way. So can now chase Folkmasters. As Folkmaster chases Frigate. Animator's got 25 lap old medium, so I assume is going to make another stop. As ONB, Alberto has closed that gap to the leader to 1.5 seconds. Need to keep an eye on Legion, as he's going to close that gap, and Young Light should be closing that gap to Joe Animator as well. We're on board with the leaders here. That gap closing, closing, closing. These two drivers have been back and forth at it all day. Different strategies. One, starting on different tires. Hit back to back, double stack during the safety car on lap 7. And then now on lap 38 of 58. Within 1 second of each other. With difference of 2 lap old tires, same time. And it's very, very close again. As yes, we do still see those gaps dropping a little bit in the background. We'll definitely want to keep an eye on those, as a few points here and a few points there can mean a lot. As it is now O&B Alberto in the V-Carb on his teammate in the other V-Carb. Of course, DRS open down into turn 1. Probably a little too far back to make something happen on this lap. But now, with a little dirty air, maybe burning his tires a little too much. And we'll see if that gap doesn't kind of even out a little bit. If you're going to get past, you got to get past now, but then it puts yourself vulnerable as well. But clean air in front, nothing beats that. Finishing where you finish on track does matter. A little 3-second penalty here, 3-second penalty there. Obviously, you're going to see a couple of those at the end of the race, but we're not looking at any of that right now. Where you finish on track is what matters most. Very, very close here between the two V-Carbs. Team principal O&B Sabuka would be very proud of his team today. Obviously still a long ways to go. 18 laps more to finish off this round 1 here in Elite Aspect F125. Here in Australia in Melbourne. Albert Park. We're going to get DRS again here down into turn 3. Still, I think, a little too far back. Maybe trying to pick the chance. Legion closing in on Folk Masters. Young Lights seem to have dropped back just a little bit now, actually. Legion does have those very, very fresh medium tires. As we're still on board with the leaders here. Not quite close enough, I don't think, to make a move in turn 9 and 10 here. But having 4 DRS zones around here is just making it so easy for Alberto to stay with and keep the pressure on. Maybe a little better run out of turn 2 there. You really want to be under in 4/10 to make the DRS zone work. Maybe one a little bit, one before turn 9. We'll see how this one works, because it's definitely very, very close here. I think close enough. This is a move done. Around the outside. Should get DRS again. Of course, that will change once the lap begins, and that slipstream is still so powerful. So I expect these two drivers to be trading blows here just a little bit. Legion, of course, has closed that gap to 2.5 seconds. Young Lights has fallen back. Animator has closed that gap to under 10 seconds. Now under 9. So does Young Lights have an issue? See any damage to the car? As we'll continue on with TRT Marcos Olmedo on ONB Alberto. Both race for the V-Carbs from team principal Sabuka. As these two drivers have been in very good form today, this entire weekend, simply through qualifying as well. Is it too far back? $16 laps to go here around Albert Park for Elite Aspect F125. Just watching the front runners, who are within half a second of each other, have probably overtaken each other 2 or 3 times apiece. During this race. A blue flag for Eiling's piece just ahead of them, which may contribute to what happens here in this battle, as Legion is now only 1.5 seconds behind Folk Masters. So we thought either Frigate or Folk Masters might have to pit again. Frigate might. Both of them navigate around the Red Bull there with blue flags. I think maybe they may ghost. I don't know. Nine tenths, I don't think is close enough. Just keeping an eye on the V-Carbs here. Looks like Alberto is pulling away just a touch. It does have a lap or two pressure rubber. Legion definitely closing in on Frigate now. We'll definitely keep an eye that 1 second gap on the leaders here. But that Ferrari versus Ferrari engine in the Haas, that gap is below 1 second. This could be on. Takes the outside line going into 9. Folkmaster should tuck right back in. Try to keep the pressure on. Try to make them make a mistake. As Animator is also getting closer to Young Lights. Legion has a little bit fresher medium tires. Young Light's 16 lap old mediums almost needs to pit again. Should still come out in 7th. Bring it up 5 places. And 19 lap old hards. Maybe can take them to the end, doesn't have to worry about Legion, but Legion's closing that gap as well. And if Frigate decided to pit, now would be the time. That way it would give you enough time to make up on Folk Masters and Legion again. Because you could definitely pull on a set of mediums and make your way to the end. At this point, a set of softs could be possible, as Legion is closing that gap to Frigate as well. So, well done race from him. Frigate would still come out in 5th. Or even maybe 6th with the Young Lights another, I mean, definitely 5th, but wouldn't have to worry because Young Lights may pit again. As we are keeping an eye on Legion here, who seems to be pulling away a couple tenths a lap on Folkmasters and closing a couple tenths on Frigate. Was an I-Links piece very, very close there. When did that happen? Not sure. As we can keep an eye on the other Ferrari of Joe Animator, who is closing that gap on Young Lights as well. So probably a few changes to position here. We did see a minute ago what the penalties looked like, which is always unfortunate. You got 10 seconds, 12 seconds, 3 seconds, 9 seconds, 9 seconds, 3 seconds, 9 seconds. So things will change as far as the order is concerned when we get there, but it's not something we really pay too much attention to in the race, as it is Animator who gets past Young Lights into turn 9 with the DRS, moves up to 6th on track. No penalties either for Animator, so if we can close that gap to Folkmasters, possibly could mean something. As we'll keep back on board with Legion here. Yep, this is 3.5 seconds now. With 10 laps to go, 11 laps to go here. Elite Aspect F125, round 1 here in Australia. We'll be heading to China for round 2 next weekend. Sprint weekend, so we'll have FP1 and then sprint qualifying. Then we'll have a sprint race early Friday, followed by regular qualifying, and then the race on Saturday. So, should be an interesting weekend, as these drivers will not have much time to get in tune with the new car on the track around China. I was thinking for a second, Young Lights may have still been battling Animator there, but it's dropped back to 2.3 seconds. Still old mediums. Unfortunately, was knocked out of the lobby, disconnected, and got back in. But when your car goes like that, it comes over AI. It's very, very slow. And as Legion has that gap down to 2.7 seconds, beginning lap 48 of 58, 10 laps to go here. Elite Aspect F125. Definitely a shout out to Young Lights, who were hoping could make a progress, but unfortunate incident with internet issues had him drop out of the race for a little bit. Got him back in, but unfortunate that he wasn't able to put in his best effort just due to unforeseen circumstances. He is our leader. He organized all this and got us all together, so big shout out to him. And as Legion does have that gap down to 2.5, less than 2.5 now. Getting on a podium would be fantastic around here. Frigate, it would be amazing for him to hold on to it, especially from gaining that many positions. Legion as well. Gained a few positions, I believe. Just looking at the gaps, maybe Young Lights did hit again. As the two leaders are approaching him. But that gap to the front runners has gotten to 2.5 seconds, as Legion has closed his gap to 2 seconds to Frigate 3360 ahead in the McLaren. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on this battle as it moves forwards. 120.386 a lap for Legion. See if we can grab Frigate's next lap. That gap again is closing now, 2 seconds. Two turn 9 and 10. A little bit of a rear mishap there. Legion able to capitalize. Down to 1.7 seconds. No DRS quite as of yet. Again, those tires, 12 lap old mediums, 23 lap old hards. Frigate up 5 spots. That's amazing. Legion would love to get a podium here, starting 4th. The gap is coming down and down and down every second. Alright, we missed Frigate's last. Meant to check his last lap. Legion for sure is closing up, but these mediums going to hold out to the end. 8 laps to go here. I know they'll hold out. It's will they hold out with any performance, as that gap is less than a second. Where was the detection zone? Right there. Oh, we see that wing angle open. Looks like it. Young Lights put on a set of softs and just did a 118 flat. Keep an eye on that gap. 19 seconds over 8 laps. 2 seconds a lap. All down to the inside. In the McLaren fight back. A little bit of a lockup. So close. Is Frigate going to be able to make this battle happen into turn 1? Another lockup for Legion in front. Who's getting the better exit? We know who's getting DRS. Is it going to be enough? Jolts to no, decides to not. As TRT Marcos Olmo has gone into the pits and come out on a set of softs. So now we have 3 stop strategies going on. But if we look at, neither one of them has penalty. Or he just served his 10-second penalty. That's what it was. Okay. Had to serve a 10-second penalty. Got it. But Frigate's still battling back against Legion here. Will Marcos Olmedo have enough to get past both of them? Had a 10-second penalty. Could have made it to the end, I would think. I think it's still battling back. Ooh, late. That's going to bring Marcos Olmedo right into play, especially on these fresh softs. There's not going to be much to contend with here. TRT Marcos almost having to back out just because these tires are going to be so much faster. Now it'll be Marcos Olmedo, and I expect in this final sector close that gap up real quick. And with the traction out of 14, DRS. Oh, but Legion got the DRS off the back marker. Really unable, but just the amount of traction. Thank you very much. See you later. I've got 5 laps to close up, 28 seconds to my teammate, which with the 10-second penalty, that did kind of hurt. Don't see any of these other gaps really. Five laps to go here. I guess anything can happen. We do see Legion closing in there with the DRS. But with the closing stages, I don't know what's going to happen as far as these penalties are concerned and who's going to end up where. Nobody's really closing a gap up here with the final few laps that we're going to finish up with here in Australia for round one of Elite Aspect F125. Quite a few retirees. Australia is known for that, with slippery curbs and really easy to get set out of sorts. And it does look like there are some raindrops falling. 4 laps remaining here. This will be interesting to see what happens. What are the leaders doing? Hard compound tire with rain now starting to fall. I didn't see DRS disabled. It decides to carry on for another lap. Benefits Marcos Olmedo here, especially on the softs. Should be able to make up quite a bit of time if it's under slicker conditions. Who's going to be the better wet driver here? And is anybody daring to enter the pits and gamble? Or are they all just going to slide around? Luz has decided to gamble. Marcos has closed that gap to 16 seconds. So rain is falling. Marcos has the soft compounds versus everybody else, much harder compounds around. I think Young Lights has a set of softs on as well. So fresh soft rubber on a wet track. Still 3 laps to go. We got to 56, 57, and lap 58. So Alberto stays out. Marcos stays out. Legion stays out. Frigate stayed out. Anybody going to gamble? If anybody, it would be either Folkmasters or Animator. I would think they would have the chance with the space to the people behind for the pit stop. Young Lights could as well. Still, that gap is dropping between Alberto and Olmedo. Marcos. Tricky conditions, of course, though. With the rain falling, nobody's decided to pit and put on intermediate. It's almost like they think it's too late now in the race to gamble on that. And we could have a safety car right now. We'd hope they wouldn't do that. That gap is less than 10 seconds with 2 laps to go. Thought Frigate might have been gaining on Legion there. Would be interesting. But no one is happy out there at the moment, I can tell you that. Racing on slick tires, on a wet track, now you've got more than one lap to go. Alberto on these hard tires on a wet surface. Look at the gap from Marcos, who had a 10-second penalty served. Keep it on track, and with the compound tire difference, may be able to close that gap to Alberto. After serving that 10-second penalty, Frigate seems to be closing the gap a little bit, so any mistake from one of these drivers, everything could change. It's going to be one final lap here. On the hard tires, wet track, just trying to keep it brings out the white flag. The final lap here at Australia F125 Elite Aspect. Luz did put on the intermediates and has been making headway. 3.5 seconds. DRS is now disabled. Right when Frigate is about to close the gap to Legion. And we'll have to keep an eye on, can Marcos Olmedo overcome a 10-second penalty served in the pit stops, put on the soft tire, and is now less than 2 seconds on the final lap away from winning the race. But down to Frigate and Legion for third place on track. Who's better in the wet? That gap was closing quite a bit, down to 1.5 and then less than a second. Frigate probably will want that DRS re-enabled right about now. Gotta watch the leaders at the moment, but something can happen with Frigate in the back. Joe Animator with less than 2 seconds behind Folk Masters as well. As we've got a route on board with the leaders here, coming out of the final turn. Just get the traction down. And it will be ONB Alberto taking the race win here with his teammate Marcos Olmedo. So VCARB across the line 1-2. Ferrari Legion working on Frigate. The penalties will change a lot of things here. Across the line goes Frigate and Legion, who will move up a spot due to penalties. Animator so close behind on track. Put the power down. Who's going to get the most out of it? Oh, it is going to be Animator. Drag race to the line for 5th and 6th. Animator did win it. It looks like penalties being handed out. You'll see teams and all the drivers being moved and jostled as they finish with their penalties handed in. But that'll do it. ONB Alberto holds off Marcos Olmedo for the race win under the tricky conditions here at the end. Legion ends up on the podium with 3rd place, Frigate 3360 in 4th, Animator in the Ferrari in 5th, with Folk Masters, Young Lights, Alings, and Bluz rounding out the top 10. As the VCARB score a massive haul of points here. 3 Spanish on the top, on the podium today. All from Spain. Well done for them. So they'll all hear their anthem. Yeah, as you see our podium drivers celebrating. We'll get our race winner here. Yep, ONB Alberto with the race win, the cleanest driver as well. Most overtakes was Animator, Joe Animator. And fastest lap was Young Lights, who put on that set of softs and did come out. So fantastic fastest lap from him. And we'll continue on here. As you see the results. OMB Alberto does finish in first place. You see the points handed out there. Fastest lap to Young Lights. No points for fastest lap anymore. But there are the final results, 1 through 10 score points. And if you do not finish, you do not score points. Didn't get to take a look at the incidences, but that'll wrap it up. For this week's race, that was round 1 of Australia here for Elite Aspect F125. We look forward to seeing you all in China next week, as we will have one practice session on Thursday, followed by a sprint qualifying. Then Friday we'll have a sprint race, followed by race qualifying. So very, very interesting setup for next week. I enjoyed you all watching today. Do appreciate everybody for hanging in there with the long race. But we will see you next week, and appreciate it. I'm Fabregas115 signing off for Elite Aspect F125.